Thank you so much, Kase, and thank you all of you for being here. It's really amazing to see this gathering and to see the mycelium-like connections gradually spreading, not only in this room, but out into the world. So, as I think the video showed, and I want to attest to, now is the time for bridging leadership. The divides, in some ways, have only increased over the last few years, and the need for bridging those divides and finding inclusive, collaborative solutions to the problems that they cause is absolutely fundamental. The surfacing of racial animus in the US and also in many other places, violent conflict in too many parts of the world, and at the same time, we've seen incredible examples of collective action in the face of these challenges, and that is what this evening is about. So at this event last fall, we were going to share the preliminary news about an example of such collective action from Bangladesh to address child drowning, which kills 30 children each day. The root cause of child drowning in Bangladesh turned out to be, after a collective exploration, a childcare coverage gap. Parents struggle to provide supervision amid their many other responsibilities during the day, and the burden of care weighs heavily on women who must work. With so much water close to places where children play, the results are too often tragic. Bloomberg Philanthropies thought of the idea, one of the many creative ideas that they've had, to address an, in some ways, obvious but unaddressed from a systemic perspective problem, and created the Drowning Prevention Partnership with Synergos and with Esha Hussain, who's here with us tonight, who has led this to the results I'm about to say. Esha, would you be willing to stand? I can't see you because there's so much light, but we want to celebrate you. So the question was how to develop scalable solutions. And as I said, daycare centers turned out to be the solution that has prevented many, many, many children from drowning. So as part of the partnership, Bloomberg Philanthropies began funding community daycare centers for more than 50,000 kids, reducing their drowning risk by 88%. And with this evidence, this March, the Bangladesh government has committed opening 8,000 centers to support 200,000 kids. That's, to me, an example of bridging leadership in action, of collaboration and trust built across a range of local, national, and international actors. And all of this supported by the efforts of visionary bridging leader who, as you saw, got the Bridging Leadership Award several years ago, Mike Bloomberg. Mike is an entrepreneur, as I'm sure almost everybody in this room knows, but we have people from so far around the world that I'll just say that he was three-term mayor of New York City, whose innovations in government and philanthropy have made him a real leader on critical issues facing America and the world. And as I said, he's also a past winner of this award. So I'm so delighted, Mike, that you're with us today, because you are a force for collaborative, high-impact interventions focused on systemic change at scale, and you have an incredible team who carries that out into the world. So from that partnership in Bangladesh to other public health efforts, such as on-road safety, gun safety, food, and reproductive health, to innovative work tackling climate change and protecting the environment with work on coal, on decarbonization, on sustainable cities, and even more. I've been so honored to see Mike at work using his sharp mind, systems thinking, and tremendous resources to build coalitions that get to the root causes. Mayor Mike, can you please join us on stage?
Peggy, thank you, and good evening, everyone. It's going to be a great night tonight, complete with musical performances. But do not worry, I am not going to sing unless it's a duet with Peggy. And when you sing a duet with Peggy, it's Peggy and others. Seriously, I'm glad to say that our team at Bloomberg has been a close partner with Synergos for almost 30 years. And I want to thank Peggy and her colleagues and all the terrific work that they do and everyone here for making that possible. You should give yourselves a nice round of applause. You have earned it. Now, all over the world, countries are wrestling with so many interconnected challenges, from addressing the global refugee crisis to fighting climate change to rebuilding after the pandemic. And of course, governments can't solve all these challenges alone. Both the private sector and philanthropic groups have critically important roles to play, and that's something David Rockefeller understood better than anyone. He was someone I always looked to for guidance in my own giving, so it was a special honor to receive the Bridging Leadership Award a few years ago. And tonight, it is my pleasure to present it to a true dynamo, someone who never stops thinking, creating, and collaborating, a leader who sets the highest standards and builds outstanding teams, and who is a force not only in the world of philanthropy, but also in civic and nonprofit communities. Start thinking, and if you can guess who, do not tell the person next to you, because I want to do that. He personifies the spirit of partnership that made David so special and so effective. And I'm talking, of course, about my friend, the tireless and extraordinary Darren Walker. I also want to congratulate Andre Hoffman and Alyse Nelson, whom we're going to hear from a little bit later. But I think it's fitting that the first of the honorees we honor tonight, we salute tonight, is an alumni of the Rockefeller Foundation. Darren is now the president of the Ford Foundation, which is very fitting if you know a little bit about Darren's life story and his journey to the stage tonight. And if you don't, I'm going to tell you. Darren grew up in a small town in Ames, Texas, where he was raised by a single mother. And when he was about 5 years old, a woman knocked on the door and talked to Darren's mother about enrolling her son in a brand new education program. It was called Head Start, and it went on to change the course of so many young lives, including Darren's. And believe it or not, it was made possible through an investment by, you guessed it, the Ford Foundation. Darren really is positive proof that the American dream still lives. His story shows what a person can achieve when America invests in its young people and opens up doors of opportunity to families who have been shut out for far too long. Back in 2001, a big reason I decided to run for mayor was to help more kids get the education that I thought they needed to pursue their dreams. And I was lucky enough to attend a good school growing up, but I may never have made it to Johns Hopkins without the help of federal loans. So Darren and I share a passion for public education. It was public funds that both gave us our opportunities. And in City Hall, whether it was about schools or housing or anything else, whenever we asked Darren for help, he was there. In fact, some agencies even had to tell their certain staffers, stop calling Darren Walker. He's got a day job. Leave him alone, for goodness sakes. Darren really is one of a kind, and he has a gift for reaching across divides and bringing out the best in everyone. And I am glad to say that he's been a close partner of Bloomberg Philanthropies for many, many years. Over the past 2 of those years, the pandemic has brought us even closer together. In March of 2020, we teamed up to launch the NYC COVID-19 Response and Impact Fund. and in the months that followed, we distributed more than $110 million in emergency support to almost 800 cultural and social service organizations in the city. And I think it's fair to say Darren was just getting started. Later that year, Darren and Ford took unprecedented action to help tackle the pandemic and matters of diversity and equality. They made history by issuing $1 billion in bonds, which nearly doubled their annual giving grant making program and expanded their support for social justice work. And again, Darren wasn't done. He and his team rallied 16 major donors and foundations, including, I'm happy to say, Bloomberg Philanthropies, to launch a more than $150 million initiative called America's Cultural Treasures. Its mission is to honor the diversity of artistic expression in America and provide long overdue support for the organizations that foster it. It's a critically important program, and it wouldn't be happening without Darren's drive and leadership. Throughout his career, Darren Walker has been a champion for the arts, for justice reform, and for great American cities like New York and Detroit. He has fought inequality and brought allies together to fight alongside him. From being a beneficiary of the Ford Foundation to leading it, Darren shows our nation at its best. He is dedicating his life to the kind of work that happened right on his front porch in Ames, Texas, and we are very lucky for it. So please join me in applauding a very, very deserving recipient of the David Rockefeller Building Leadership Award, a bridge builder, our partner and our friend, Darren Walker. I've got to give you some.
Oh, okay. All right, then we got to come over here and put
This is heavy. It's very heavy. This is heavy. He's complaining already. We are very lucky to have him, and I'm honored to be his friend. God bless.
Thank you, my friend. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. First, to my inimitable, indefatigable friend, Mike Bloomberg, who has about 15 things he needs to do tonight. Thank you, Mike, for turning out. Thank you, Mike, for being Mike, for being a philanthropist, a living philanthropist in the tradition of John D. Rockefeller, of Andrew Carnegie, of the greatest philanthropists of the 20th century. Your legacy will be that you are among the greatest philanthropists of this century. And it is very kind of you to give me credit, but one of the things I've always admired about you is that you hire the very best talent and inspire them to do great work. So the credit you gave me for the New York City investments during the pandemic happened because one Patty Harris called me and said, Mike and I have an idea. What if we put a fund together? So thank you for giving me credit for that, but I think Patty Harris deserves credit for that, because in so many ways, the partnership that we have shared and that has benefited so many has been because we, Bloomberg, Ford, and Rockefeller before, understood that in order to have impact, we needed to work in collaboration and in partnership. So thank you to you and Patty and the team, and to Bloomberg Philanthropies for doing the work that you do around the world that is truly transformational. You are a national treasure, Mike Bloomberg. Thank you so much. And if I can say about one David Rockefeller, Mike Bloomberg's very good friend, Peggy, your father was a rare soul. As you know, I was lucky enough to know him, and I was so lucky in that summer in Maine, the last year of his life, to be on a boat And Mike Bloomberg was there on that boat. And he was so joyous. He was so happy. He was so loving and caring. The humility, the sense of compassion he had for everyone was palpable. And I know you feel that you are probably the luckiest daughter in the world to have had David Rockefeller as your father. And I am the luckiest recipient of this award that I do not feel worthy of. And certainly under the name of David Rockefeller, following Mike Bloomberg and so many other distinguished philanthropists, I'm truly humbled and truly grateful to you. So thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Mike.
Hello, everyone. It's really hard to follow this act. Congratulations, Darren. Thank you for coming, and thanks to Peggy, and thank you all for coming, and for Michael Bloomberg for this wonderful introduction. My name is Zainab Salbi. I'm a board member of Synergos and co-founder of Daughters for Earth. And on a summer day actually, in August, this last August of 2021, Alyse Nelson got a call that there are about a few hundred Afghan women leaders whose life were at threats as the Taliban entered Kabul, and there were no plans to evacuate them. Now, many people got similar calls, mostly in terms of different allies of the US. Very few people got the calls about women and the danger that they were going through. And many women did show up. But Alyse, in that moment, led. She not only showed up, she led. These women were parliamentarians, judges, teachers, journalists, public faces, whose public faces are recognizable, and they were really under threat to assassination. And within 2 weeks, and with Alyse's leadership, she pulled an amazing coalition of women, formally, informally, in America, in Europe, in Middle East, in Asia, all over, in Africa, all over the world, raising $12 million and negotiating our own chartered planes, women's chartered planes, where Alyse, and I am a witness to that, stayed up all night negotiating how to charter planes to evacuate 1,200 Afghan women and their families into safety. Now, this is, they say, I learned in my life that crisis shows you the essence of people. It shows you either our worst essence or our good essence. What I've experienced from Alyse in the hardest month of my professional life, I think most of our professional life, was that her essence was a shining star. This was a leader who brought people together. She brought friends and foes together in alliances to create a unity, to get for the safety and fight for the safety of something larger than all of us. She believed that this is all about love and unity. And she worked in the trenches in the middle of the night, and she inspired people in demonstrations and on TV stations. Now, women's work never gets acknowledged. Seriously, it rarely gets acknowledged. So allow me today to acknowledge the work of Alyse Nelson, because up until this moment, she never talked about her pivotal leadership in that moment of history. And I am personally grateful for knowing you and working with you and seeing that beautiful essence of you, and what you stand for is bridging leadership. Now, Alyse started her career at the White House. She at the First Lady's office of then Hillary Rodham Clinton First Lady office, and was part of birthing Vital Voices right after the Beijing famous speech by Hillary Rodham Clinton, which is women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights. I can't believe that we are in 2022 and we're still talking the same thing, and not, it's just been the most pivotal time in women's rights, actually, where we are at threat of losing a lot of the basic rights that we believe that we have. And if it wasn't for the leadership of Alyse Nelson and Vital Voices, who mobilized more than 20,000 women leaders around 184 countries, providing them all the support, coaching, leadership, network, any support that they need so they can rise in their leadership. And each of these women leaders are stars in their own countries fighting for women's rights, not to lose it. And only last week, with Alyse's leadership and Vital Voices, the first global women embassy opened in the entire world. It's an amazing moment. I really do believe that we need to make this century the feminine century. And I don't mean women's century, feminine century, with values of bridging values, love and care and kindness and compassion. And I believe, and I've witnessed, and I think a lot of Alyse's colleagues and her mother and father who are here, not her daughter, I think I'm a witness that she is a leader in making this century the feminine century, and she's a leader in bridging all of us to realize that this is a pivotal moment in women's rights, and I trust in your leadership, and I thank you for your leadership. So thank you, and welcome, Alyse Nelson. There you go.
Oh. Zainab, I have to say that one of the greatest gifts of my life was having the opportunity to work with you in those many round-the-clock days and nights. Wow, I feel incredibly humbled. Peggy, what you have built, this community is phenomenal. Darren and Andre, I mean, to be in your presence, both of you, extraordinary icons in this world, and of course, in your father's great legacy. I have to say, I feel extremely humbled because everything that we do at Vital Voices, we always do in partnership. So it is certainly not just me. There are many, many others along with me on this journey. But I also feel humbled because, quite frankly, everything that I have learned about leadership, I have learned from women around the globe. Women who are on the front lines of change, who in some of the most unimaginable crisis, they are thinking about others. They are pulling their networks and their resources. They are seeing possibility where other people just see problems. These are the women that I've had the opportunity to learn at the feet of. Women like certainly those that were evacuated from Afghanistan. I think the reason we were so successful with those evacuations was, quite frankly, not just because we partnered across many different organizations, and I see Lori from Women for Women, another great ally in this work, but also because we put Afghan women at the center. It was the Afghan women leaders who had already come to the United States that advised us and helped us to build this coalition and exactly how we were going to do it. It was giving them a central voice in that coalition. You know, from Afghanistan to Ukraine to Ethiopia to Yemen, there are women all over the globe. We often don't know their names, but I can guarantee you all of us have felt the impact of their work. They are women who are slowly chipping away at some of the world's greatest challenges. Their mission is collective progress, and their method is partnership. The most effective and most creative leaders that I know, who I've learned from, always make it their mission to connect across those lines that divide us. I only wish more leaders would do that, right? To find commonality across all our differences, to put ego aside. I first learned that from women in Northern Ireland. Women who, back in the 60s, slowly began to cross those political divides. Slowly, so that one day, fast forward in 1998 when I met them, their sons could sit down at the peace negotiation tables, a place that, by the way, even in 1998, so many years later, they were not invited to sit at. This is not a unique story. Around the world, we see women as the first to reach out and connect. I believe that these women are the leaders that we need today. I mean, they are not chasing titles or positions. They want answers to the problems that affect their kids, their neighbors, the next generation. You know, our world is craving new voices and a new brand of leadership. We want leaders who seek power not for the sheer opportunity of holding power, but to see how they can empower others utilizing that power. More often than not, women come to leadership because they see a wrong and they want to step up to right it. But yet, so few people recognize the transformative power of women. I see it again and again, but yet in the United States right now, only 1.6% of charitable giving goes to support women and girls. Knowing what I know about the power of women, the transformative power of women, this has to change. I know that all of us in this room know that we cannot afford to keep things the same. We have to think differently, and I firmly believe that women are that difference. For too long, women have been overlooked and undervalued, but for precisely the reason that we need them right now. They lead differently. They bring new solutions and unconventional thinking, unheard of perspectives. More often than not, that is because they are the people who are impacted the most by challenges. Whether it's crises or war or the climate crisis, you know that women are always disproportionately impacted. And the thing is, those are the people who need to make the change because you can only change what you know and what you experience. The World Economic Forum tells us that during the pandemic, women actually slid back an entire generation. We lost a generation of progress at current rates. But for me, the ultimate optimist in this work, it is at current rates of progress that give me hope. Because what I believe, and I know that all of you are so critical in that, what I believe is that we can leapfrog progress. And I believe that the answer is to support and empower women. Not to go into communities and say we have the answers, but to look to communities and see that they know the solutions. They just need the support. I hope that you will join me in investing in them, because I can tell you, if you fight for them, they are most definitely fighting for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.